Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jeff Panting. I'm the Director of Marketing here with Safety Mojo, and we organized this webinar to help with some insights into the world of data center construction. It's such a hot topic right now, and it's also a pretty high profit job space for builders. But with this new demand, there's an increase in kind of what owners are expecting safety wise and data wise from general contractors. And that presents some challenges for general contractors. And that's what we want to get into today to give you our insights on how you can leverage safety to get more of these data center construction jobs. We had planned to have our CEO, Corey Linton, kick us off. He got stuck in North Dakota visiting some energy customers out there. So instead, we've got Nate Dart, our Chief Revenue Officer, and then Manoj Parimal, our Chief Operating Officer, who oversees our product development team. Nate, do you want to kick us off?
I'd love to. Thanks so much. It's events like this that they try and keep the sales guys away from, but I'm glad that I get to fill in for Corey today. Jeff said I run sales here, which is why they're having me go first, and which is why they told me to keep it very brief and just to tee the meeting up, because this is not a sales pitch or anything like that. But we do hope that you come away with some great takeaways, some best practices. I have been fortunate enough to visit a lot of these job sites, these data center job sites. With that, we've just learned a lot of things along the way. We know what they're expecting, and we're glad to be able to share some of the things that we have learned along the way in working with some of these people. And to start things off, we're very proud to say that we have some of the world's best companies as partners. We truly view it as a partnership, and through these partners, we've been able to work on some of the world's largest construction projects. And it's just been an awesome experience for us as we continue to learn and grow and do all those things with them. But I just wanted to call it out that we so appreciate our partners, and we love our relationship with them. Just mentioned the agenda. We're obviously going to give the state of the data center construction, what everyone's looking for, how Safety Mojo fits in, but not just Safety Mojo. We know that there are a lot of different technologies that are leveraged on job sites. We're hoping that you can take more away of, hey, what type of technology, not just our technology, but the technology that you guys are currently using, and how can we make it work for us and benefit us and value us on a job site, right? So we'll go through some of that stuff. Just to kick things off, the state of data center construction, as everyone knows, the demand continues to grow. It is not slowing down. It seems like on a weekly basis, there are news articles or releases that happen about new data centers that are going to be under construction in different parts of the country and really different parts of the globe, right? So the urgency is rising. I think that a lot of the major companies that are building these data centers are somewhat in a race, right? They're in a race to grab that land, grab that technology and those data centers to power all of the things that are going on in this world. So we know that is not slowing down. Having said that, because we have so many partners that work on those data centers, we get to see the incident reports. We get to hear about the different things that are going on these job sites. And from an owner's perspective, as well as from a GC's perspective, how those impact the business and what kinds of things are happening on those job sites. We know that there is an increasing interest and increased focus on how do we minimize those incidents. A good example of this is on one of the job sites that we partnered on. One of the subcontractors had an incident where they were installing a fire sprinkling system, and they had an incident that flooded the entire project. And you can see the water on the floor here, and then on the right-hand side, you can see those switches. All of those, that's tens of millions of dollars worth of switches, which obviously there's insurance and things. But the one real big takeaway here was these switches are 6 months out. You have to order them. So now it's delaying the project 6 months. So you can imagine the rippling effects of what these incidents have on each project. So I just wanted to call that out, like this is an example of something that happened recently. So what are owners expecting? Owners are paying more attention to GCs that have a world-class safety program. It's not to say they're not going out and saying, hey, you have to be safe. It's what are you doing proactively? What type of processes, what type of technology are you leveraging to make sure that you have world-class safety programs? So that's the first thing. And the next thing they're asking is, how are you managing high risk activities? Are you identifying them? Are you mitigating them at the point of risk? And how are you managing those? The other thing that they're paying a big attention to is these are big projects. There are a lot of subcontractors working on these projects. So it's, how are you managing your subcontractors? How are you ensuring that everything they're doing is, again, safe, mitigating risk, in compliance, all of the above? If you want to win more of these jobs and you want to be on these job sites, you know that you have to be able to prove and demonstrate your ability to do these things. We've seen quite a few times where subcontractors and even GCs have been kicked off of projects because they have a hard time getting their arms around and management and managing that risk. That's one of the things that they're looking for. What do GCs expect from trades? It's the consistency and the compliance, right? For example, PTPs are at the center of everything. Every morning, there's a PTP that's expected. And most of the time, that PTP is contractually they have to do it. Having said that, from an owner's and a GC standpoint, it's very hard to make sure that everyone's doing that. So what types of things and what types of measures can you take to make sure that not only are they completing those PTPs, but the quality of those PTPs is good, and that it's the type of PTP that will mitigate risk and stop incidents from happening. So like I just said, the PTP is key, knowing exactly what every crew is working on and being able to identify that risk. So again, whatever type of technology you guys are leveraging right now, we're going to show you how we're partnering with our partners in being able to do that. But again, if these are best practices, right? So if you're leveraging a different program to do this, you might want to contact them and say, hey, I saw that this technology is available. Are you guys working on this? Or do you already have this? We're not just leveraging it. So keep in mind and pay attention to those things. And then the other thing I would say as Manoj goes through this is ask questions, right? Raise your hand. Jeff's going to be paying attention to those things. We want to make sure that we get your questions answered. We want to make sure that there's dialogue, that you have good takeaways from this. So with that being said, I just wanted to tee things up on some of the things that they're looking for. And again, like most salespeople, I bring people smarter than I am to the meetings, which is why I'm going to turn the time over to Manoj. Manoj is our Chief Product Officer. He and his team are the ones that deliver the product. They are the ones that are working with our customers directly in building their environments out. They do a very good job of customizing that each environment to match the needs of the particular general contractor. So it's definitely not a one size fits all. But I'll turn the time over to Manoj and we'll go from there.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Nate. That's a great introduction. Thank you. So, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. We are fortunate enough to work with some of the fascinating companies that are building like massive hyperscalers and even beyond that in the world. And we have this opportunity in front of us to just go visit these sites, what matters, what is important, what owners are looking for, what GCs are looking for, and then how trades are making things happen on the field. Data center construction project is like a managed chaos, right? There are hundreds of companies coming together to build these massive infrastructure projects, and how safety is paramount, and how these different parties work together, make sure each one understands the other party, and bring everyone together and build these massive structures, right? So that gives us Mojo as a phenomenal view into what goes into these massive construction projects that make sure people are safe, and at the same time they're completing these projects on time, right? To Nate's point, wherever we go, ASSP or National Safety Council or any of these like AGC meetings, the number one thing that we hear in these places are there are a ton of pressure from owners to get these data center projects completed as quick as possible. Nowadays, like money doesn't matter at all. It's all about speed. So there is a lot of push happening on how can we get this done before schedules, right? There are a number of projects that we are working on. It's 24/7 work, right? There is night shift going on pretty much on every single data center project that we work on. So there's a tremendous pressure on GCs and subs to get the work done. So what's the role that safety plays in this? That's a big question mark. But what we see all over these projects is like safety is still the number one priority. They want to get things done on time or even before schedules, but still safety is top priority, right? So how are these owners and GCs and subs are taking this into account, right? So that's what we will discuss the next probably like 35 minutes or so. And definitely we'll continue doing these webinars where if you are interested, please join in the future webinars as well. I want to first talk about quickly about the insurance side of things. I don't want to deep dive into this. In different projects, different group owns the majority chunk of the insurance. So based on that, they drive safety significantly. We can keep that piece aside for a minute now and let's focus on the ground safety. The first area that I want to talk about is from an owner's perspective, whether it is, I don't know, I don't want to give some names here, whether it is Google or Amazon or QTS or No or Meta, whoever is building these data centers, right? Like from the owner's perspective, what are they expecting out of a GC, right? So that's the first topic that we will cover. And then we'll discuss from a GC's perspective. And if you can look at who are all working on data centers, probably ER 400, pretty much every one of them are working on data centers. What are their expectations out of subs or our trades who work on these projects, right? First, let's talk about owners to GCs, right? In that specific area, pretty much ER 400 are all competing for this business. There are probably 10 to 20 owners who are building these massive data centers to these very small regional data centers that are built by companies like Nova and all of these owners. One thing that they look for with respect to GCs, right? That's consistency. So they're clearly tracking which GC has a clear track record, not only on sticking to the schedule, primarily on the budget, schedule, and safety. These three are the pillars of how they're selecting GCs to work on their projects, right? So if you look at that, number one, if you are a new GC or new into this space, definitely your other industry or other segment historical performance is going to drive to some extent. But if you are in this space already, these owners are clearly looking at what is your performance on your past projects building these data centers. So quickly, I want to touch on the incident that Nate shared. So this is what Nate shared. This incident, it's the result of trade stacking where one of the trade did not inform the other one who were like working nearby. So they opened the water, it flooded, the switches got damaged, and the damage cost was probably in tens of millions of dollars, but the much more severe impact is on the wait times on these hardwares. If you are in this space, there is a race. So everyone is trying to get these hardware. So on every one of this hardware, there is a long wait time. So what it does is it delays the whole project, right? On top of this, what happens is these kind of delays and impact, owners get the GCs kicked out of that project. The problem is it's not just that one project that you are out, it impacts all of your future project with that owner. So consider this has happened with, let's say, I don't know, Amazon or Meta or Google, right? They are building data centers everywhere in the world. So if you are this GC, you are losing close to few $1 billion in the next few years of revenue. It's a simple communication issue that resulted in these kind of damages, right? So this is where understanding high risk activities, identifying them, making sure the teams are communicating is critical here, right? So coming back to owners to GCs, owners are expecting track record. If you don't have one in the data center construction space, definitely for the first timers, your other experience in the other segments will definitely help. But if you are in the space, it is paramount that you maintain your records really well with respect to safety, budget, and timelines. Those three are very important. Now, since this webinar is about safety, let's keep budget and timeline aside and let's dive into safety. right? So from a safety standpoint, if you're part of any GC, owners primarily pick you guys and then they give you the project. There are a ton of stuff in the contract they expect you to do at a very high level, but then they don't get into means and methods of a GC, right? So pretty much what they expect, an owner expects from GC is give me a report on the overall safety of that project. It varies based on the owner. Some owners ask once a week report. Some owners ask once a month report. Let me share an example here. This is a sample template of one of the owner's report that we share with our customer. So this is called the Executive Safety Walk Report. This report goes out every week. If you look at what all is covered in this report, primarily what they are looking for is give me an overall report that includes what all proactive safety efforts as a GC you are following in this project. And in proactive safety efforts, pretty much you all know safety observations, audits, inspections, pre-task plan, which is the core of safety. These all come under proactive safety efforts, safety trainings, right? So this report is an example of how all of that data can be automated and sent in this way where you have clearly a quick summary. What's the goal completion rate? What are the underlying components of that safety report? You have a good chunk of information about safety observations, audits, and stuff. And then there are some images being attached so that it gives a clear picture of, hey, here is how we are maintaining overall safety in this specific project, right? So that's a starter. If you think about this, the report that I showed is the end result of a good safety program happening in the project, right? So for a good safety program to be happening in the project, based on who you are as a company, you have a lot of experience running safety programs, so you know what works for you guys. But typically it's observations, PTPs and stuffs. Number one issue that we hear from GCs is frontline adoption. There are a few things that we can think about and talk about in that specific area, right? So one is, are we doing all of our processes in one place, or is it like scattered across? For example, we do our permits on paper. We do our PTP on a homegrown app. We do our observations on an app provided by our insurance broker, right? So that now, if you think about this, your data is sitting in multiple places. Nobody can bring this together. Nobody has access to what's going on in the project. You cannot create reports like what I showed. Bringing all the data together is important, but also making sure frontline people does not have issues accessing these different tools. So let me share just one quick example of how we solve this problem, right, for our customers. This is our mobile app. If you look at the home screen, this is role-based. So if I'm a foreman or if I'm a safety manager, all the stuff that I have to do on a daily basis is what is on the home screen. So no confusion. I know what I'm doing. And one click, it should take me to what I have to do. For example, if I'm doing observations as a safety specialist or safety manager on a project, I click observation. It asks me a couple of questions. Hey, do you want to manually do it? Or in Safety Mojo, we have AI supported features. So this is observations is one of those, what we call as conversational AI. It listens to what you talk and it completes the process for you. So this is what I call as removing friction for the frontline as much as possible, right? So I see Nate Dart from United Electric is on the roof, not tied off. So I see something and I want to create a safety observation and I talk about it. The app picks up that information, processes, it completes the form for you. So if you look at that category of observation, fall protection, I said somebody's on the roof, not tied off. It's fall protection. Observation type, it's an unsafe act. Act versus condition, obviously it's act. An observed party, Nate from United Electric. It captures the description. Since it is an unsafe act, it creates a corrective action and sends a notification to the sub to fix whatever that issue is, right? So think about this as a technology. You can talk and complete your observations or your audits, inspections, or as a superintendent, you might be doing your daily logs. You can just talk and complete that. So this is basically making it as simple as possible for the front line to get their process done and just go do their work. In a very similar way, we talked about PTP as a central piece of a safety program. JSAs are done when a project gets started. All the activities, all the high-risk activities, hazards, controls are all identified. A long document is produced and GCs have that with them, right? And that becomes the base for all the subs who are working on the project. And that's where PTP comes into play, where every single day, team gets together, they talk about what all tasks that we are going to do, what all steps that we are going to follow, hazards and controls. But the most important thing is in these conversations or in these documents is where what all high-risk activities we have are being identified, or if they're not identified, they're recommended, they're talked through, and they talk about all the hazards and controls, which is very important for the crew to know. But in most companies, these are done on paper, these are done on whiteboards, or these are done on different tools where it just gets archived or it gets purged somewhere. It sits in a box somewhere. Unless there is any issue or accident or incident, it just like sits in that box for years, goes away. But it's a gold mine of information, right? So how can we extract all the information from the PTP document? And specifically, what an owner is expecting from a GC is, hey, let's make sure PTP is done every day and it is done properly. That's all they would say, right? For a GC, how can we make sure we are extracting or we are getting all the data from the front line and making sure people are discussing the right things in these meetings? So this is where what we call as flex forms comes into play, where whether you want to talk and complete your PTP or you want to do it on a whiteboard or on a paper form, you do it, but you take a picture. So you see complete with a picture option, you take a picture and basically add a picture, click done, and the subs foreman or superintendent, whoever is doing the PTP, they're done with the PTP process. They talk through, they get all the information in paper, whiteboard, or whatever it is. They take a picture of that specific whiteboard, they click done, and that's it. So we have AI model behind this that extracts all the information from that image and it completes the PTP process or digitizing the PTP process for them. Behind this, what we also do is we extract all the high-risk activities from the PTP. We quality check the PTP. We score the PTP, identify all the gaps in the PTP. Are they discussing all the high-risk activities? Are they discussing all the hazards and the right controls for those activities? If not, we provide them a recommendation saying that, hey, you said you are going to dig a trench, but you forgot to talk about caving. Do you want to talk about it with your team? So this is where ECs can stand out by providing a quality safety program across the project. So if you look at this, it has extracted the task, the hazards, and controls. The second task, the hazards, and the controls. It has picked up all the PPEs that they identified on the whiteboard. Also, there was a notes in that whiteboard. It has picked up that as well. On top of that, our AI model scored, or it went and graded the PTP submission, and it provides recommendations. These are a couple of ways where literally, as a GC, you can provide your owner peace of mind by ensuring you have a quality safety program and it's running well. So we talked about overall safety performance. We talked about executive reports that can be sent to owners every week, every month. And we talked about making things as simple as possible for the frontline employees. So now let's talk about, okay, frontline is doing all of these stuff. We are gathering all of these data. What happens? What can I, as a general contractor, what can I show my owner that gives them confidence in me? And just want to reiterate this point. Owners, they look at your safety program every single month. If they are bigger companies like I talked, Amazon, Google, or OpenAI, or XAI, or Oracle, they are working with 20 other GCs like you. They're always comparing between different GCs based on how you run your safety program, which is critical for their success. They are scoring you, and they are looking at you whether to give you the next project or not. And this is, let me share with you one more thing here. This is a dashboard that typically our GC customers use, where it gives all the information that they need to know about their safety program in one place. So, for example, if you look at it, all the proactive safety is here. It gives you what's going on in the project, where and all we have gaps, how individual subs are performing. If you're for your safety manager or for your superintendent, if this is complex, what we have done is we have enabled AI into this dashboard to make it as simple as possible for your frontline leadership. You can either talk and type and get to the insights that you want to get in a matter of seconds. These are the things that will make your safety program stand out between different other GCs, right? Number one thing for you to share with your owner is basically, hey, here is how we run our safety program. We capture every single information about our safety program. We identify where we have gaps, and we improve them. That's where corrective action comes into play, where you can show them how many open corrective actions are there. How many did we close within a specific period of time? And which subcontractor, and then owners love this because they see same subcontractors work on their different projects under different GCs as well. So you providing these type of information will make you stand out between other GCs. The last one I want to show here is PTP. Like I said, there are a lot of insights inside PTP. How you extract them. So for example, how many PTPs are completed? How many of them have actual high-risk activities in them? What are the high-risk activities that are most talked about? Which subs are completing your high-risk activities? Are they identifying all of those high-risk activities? So all of this will give the confidence to the owners that you are running a really good safety program. So let me take a pause on the proactive safety efforts. We have talked a lot about it. Just quickly dive into incident report, and then this is not proactive. Something has happened. I'm capturing all of those information. But as a GC, there are a ton of stuff going on. Can you highlight the most important things? This is where strategic incident management comes into play, where not all incidents are same. Picking up those strategic incidents, like the one Nate shared, identifying all the root causes, fixing them all, and then showing that we are making phenomenal progresses in those areas is what gives owners that confidence in you. So this is one of the dashboard that gives you what is being taught highly in the PTPs. In the incident being reported, what tasks were they doing when the incident happened? What all high-risk activities were involved around those tasks? What other subs were present when the incident happened? Did trade stacking happen? Did they communicate properly? All of those are highlighted here, right? So this is the type of insights and data that you have to show to your owner to win their contracts. Quickly, I want to shift gears from a GC to a sub, but as a GC, one last thing that I want to show is how can your superintendents and your subs to work collaboratively to pick up or to anticipate what's coming down the pipe. This is what we call as a 3-week plan ahead or 4-week plan ahead, depending on the owner and the GCs. This change, the name changes, but basically, how can we bring superintendents and subs together, talk about what's going to happen 4 weeks from now, what we should be anticipating, how we can make sure we capture all of those information. So this is, I can write down, okay, so we are doing some wiring work or installing server rack is the scope of the work. And I can go and select, okay, so this is the specific subcontractor. They're going to do trenching work. And 2 of their crews is going to do ground disturbance. 1 of their crews is going to do pressure testing. And 1 of the crews is going to do energy isolation. This is for 4 weeks from now. What are we doing? Capturing this information about all the subs, throwing it on a screen. And when that week comes, everybody has a visibility into what all high-risk activities happening in our project this week. Who's doing that work? Am I in or around them? Should I be communicating with them? This is one of the most critical pieces that owners are expecting out of GCs, and GCs are expecting out of subs as well. Basically, how are we managing high-risk activities? This specific feature, capturing all the information and showing that on a dashboard so that everybody has a visibility into what all is happening, this is the most important piece. So now let's move to what a GC is expecting out of a subcontractor. A lot of the things that we talked about from owner to a GC applies to a GC to a sub as well. Excuse me. So GCs, they have a pool of subcontractors, right? If you think about either mechanical work or electrical work or just doing optic fiber cables, like they have a pool of subcontractors they can always go and pick from. What sets a specific subcontractor from the other? Number 1, proximity to the project. Another one, the most important one, is safety compliance, right? From the safety standpoint, what they're looking for is this specific subcontractor really good at executing not only the project requirement, also safety requirements. Do they engage with the GC really well? How do they measure that engagement? Let me show something here. So this is what we call as a subcontractor scorecard. Every GCs have some way they track for every sub or every trade, right? They look at how do you perform? Do you listen to the GC? When a corrective action is assigned, do you go take care of it? Do you have a good culture within your team? How your people engage with the GCs on the field? These all together shape how the GCs think about you as a trade, right? So how can we manage that? It's all about managing that requirement, right? So number 1, making sure PTPs are done properly. So now I want to go back. Literally, I want you all to think about the flex PTP that we showed, right? It's as simple as that. But the core of PTP is, as a foreman, how am I engaging with my team members? Am I talking about all the stuff that's going to happen today? Because it is the most important safety ritual of the day. Are we talking about all the stuff that's going to happen today? Are we talking about all the hazards? Did we talk about all the controls that are in place, right? Did we capture all of those stuff in the PTP? Because the owner is pushing GCs to collect this. The GCs are going to push the trades to do a good job on that, right? So having some kind of support for the foreman to make sure they're doing a good job on the PTP, the quality of the PTP, to remind them to discuss all the important things on that PTP meeting is very important. That's why either you need to have a ton of safety people on the floor, or you find out some technology like what we showed to support your foreman to do a good job on the PTPs. That's very important. And then on the proactive safety sides, make sure if and when corrective or preventive actions are created, responding back to that is very important. Make sure you're taking care of those things that are identified on the field are taken care of. Number 3 is lessons learned. What are we learning from proactive safety efforts? What are we learning about the gaps that we have in our own process? How can we show that we are making progress in those processes? That is very important. From owner to GC, even insurance carriers are looking for, are you trending in the right direction? That's all they are looking for, right? So something like this, giving your foreman, your superintendent, something like this that gives a quick snapshot of what's going on in the field today is very important, because they can learn a lot about on the field stuff. They can go take care of those quickly if they have visibility into what's going on in the field. So if I'm a superintendent, I come click here, I know how many of the PTPs that I have to approve today. And if I click this, I know what's the quality of the PTPs that are being submitted. I know whom I should go talk to. This is all about making sure our people understand the processes and providing them the data and the insights at their fingertips so that they can go take care of the issues then and there. This will automatically put you in a right trend. If you look at, we're following all the proactive safety efforts, we're doing a good job on the PTPs, we're identifying all the high risk activities, we're identifying all the permits that we need, getting those permits done, documenting everything. It is very important that you document all the processes that you do, because end of the day, if there is an issue, the first thing that everyone is going to ask, the carrier is going to ask the owner is going to ask the GC is going to ask the trade. What they're going to ask is, where are the data? Where are the documents? Did the PTP happen that day? Even if you are doing it on paper or whiteboard, if you're having something like the flux, you take a picture, it's there. That is important. And just maintaining a disciplined safety program throughout is very important. Showing that positive trend is very important.
I appreciate everybody who was able to join the call, and we do hope that you did find some valuable information and some insights to maybe help the way that you look at your safety program, both for the GCs that we have on the call and the subcontractors that we have on the call. And if any of you would like to take a closer look at Safety Mojo to see how it might fit in with your existing program or how it might help you improve your own safety program, the fastest way to do that is probably visit our website, which is www.getmojo.ai. There's a demo request button on there. Fill out that quick form and somebody will be in touch very soon. So again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on the next webinar.
Thanks all.
Thanks all.